Hiya! Welcome to Sniper's Rest. Sniper's Rest is the last best rest stop in the here and there, the place between where you're coming from and where you're going. I am Sniper Shadow and I reside here in Sniper's Rest as a guiding custodian to those who pass through the here and there. I visit the worlds within the multiverse often, but I am always here to guide and care for the travelers such as yourself that pass through the here and there. Welcome, my friend. Oh dear, come on in, you're shivering something fierce. We've had a bit of a cold snap in the here and there. One day it was scorching hot, then the next, frost on the red dust outside the front in the morning. Mind you, it's certainly not as cold as some dimensions get, but it is cold for the here and there. Sit by the fire, my friend. I'll make you a cuppa. Please take a rest here before continuing your journey. Today we continue reading the series of short stories by H.P. Lovecraft. This week we read the tale called The Tree. It was written in 1920 and published in October 1921 in The Tryout. Written early in his career, The Tree is set in ancient Greece. Let us take a step back in time. Fata viam inveniam. The fates will find a way. On a verdant slope of Mount Manalus in Arcadia, there stands an olive grove about the ruins of a villa. Close by is a tomb, once beautiful with the sublimest sculptures, but now fallen into as great decay as the house. At one end of that tomb, its curious roots displacing the time-stained blocks of Pentelac marble, grows an unnaturally large olive tree of oddly repellent shape. So, like to some grotesque man or death-distorted body of a man, that the country folk fear to pass it at night when the moon shines faintly through the crooked boughs. Mount Manalus is a chosen haunt of the dreaded Pan, whose queer companions are many, and simple swains believe that the tree must have some hideous kinship to these weird Pansii. But an old beekeeper who lives in the neighbouring cottage told me a different story. Many years ago, when the hillside villa was new and resplendent, there dwelt within it the two sculptors, Kalos and Musaides, from Lydia to Neapolis. The beauty of their work was praised, and none dared say that one excelled the other in skill. The Hermes of Kalos stood in a marble shrine in the Cornith, and the palace of Musaides surmounted a pillar in Athens, near the Parthenon. All men paid homage to Kalos and Musaides, and marvelled that no shadow of artistic jealousy cooled the warmth of their brotherly friendship. But though Kalos and Musaides dwelt in an unbroken harmony, their natures were not alike. Whilst Musaides revelled by night amidst the urban gaieties of Tiga, Kalos would remain at home, stealing away from the sight of his people, into the cool recesses of the olive grove. There he would meditate upon visions that filled his mind, and there devise the forms of beauty which later became immortal in breathing marble. Idle folk indeed said that Kalos conversed with the spirits of the grove, and that his statues were but images of the fauns and dryads he had met there, for he patterned his work after no living model. So famous were Kalos and Musaides that none wondered when the tyrant of Skyrakus sent to them deputies to speak of the costly statue of Tech, which he had planned for his city. Of great size and cunning workmanship must the statue be, for it was to form a wonder of nations and a goal of travellers. Exalted beyond thought would be he whose work should gain acceptance, and for this honour Kalos and Musaides were invited to compete. Their brotherly love was well known, and the crafty tyrant surmised that each, instead of concealing his work from the other, would offer aid and advice, charity producing two images of unheard-of beauty, the lovelier of which would eclipse even the dreams of poets. Joy, the sculptors hailed the tyrant's offer. So, in the days that followed, their people heard the ceaseless blows of chisels. Not from each other did Kalos and Musaides conceal their work, but the sight was for them alone. Saving theirs, no eyes beheld the two divine figures released by skilful blows from the rough blocks that had imprisoned them since the world began. At night, as of yore, Moïse sought the banquet halls of Tiga, while Kalos wandered alone in the olive grove. But as time passed, men observed the want of gaiety in the once sparkling Moïse. It was strange, they said amongst themselves, that depression should thus seize one so great a chance to win art's loftiest reward. Many months passed, yet in the sour face of Moïse came nothing of the sharp expectancy which the situation should arouse. Then one day Moïse spoke of the illness of Kalos, after which none marvelled again at his sadness, since the sculptor's attachment was known to be deep and sacred. Subsequently, many went to visit Kalos, and indeed noticed the pallor of his face, and there was about him a happy serenity which made his glance more magical than the glance of Moïse, who was clearly distracted with anxiety, and who pushed aside all the people in his eagerness to feed and wait upon his friend with his own hands. Hidden behind heavy curtains stood the two unfinished figures of Taich, little touched of late by the sick man and his faithful attendant. As Kalos grew inexplicably weaker and weaker despite the ministrations of puzzled physicians and his assiduous friend, he desired to be carried often to the grove which he so loved. There he would ask to be left alone, as if wishing to speak with unseen things. Moïse ever granted his requests, though his eyes filled with visible tears at the thought that Kalos should care more for the fauns and the dryads than for him. At last the end drew near, and Kalos discoursed of things beyond this life. Moïse, weeping, promised him a sepulchre more lovely than the tomb of Malusus, but Kalos bade him speak no more of marbled glories. Only one wish now haunted the mind of the dying man, that twigs from certain olive trees in the grove be buried by his resting place, close to his head. And one night, sitting alone in the darkness of the olive grove, Kalos died. Beyond beautiful words was the marble sculpture which stricken Moïse carved for his beloved friend. None but Kalos himself could have fashioned such bas-reliefs, wherein were displayed all of the splendors of Elysium. Nor did Moïse fail to bury close to Kalos's head the olive twigs from the grove. At first, the violence of Moïse's grief gave place to resignation. He labored with diligence upon his figure of Taich. All honor was now his, since the tyrant of Scaracus would have the work of none save him or Kalos. His task proved a vent for his emotion, and he toiled more steadily each day, shunning the gaieties he had once relished. Meanwhile his evenings were spent beside the tomb of his friend, where a young olive tree had sprung up near the sleeper's head. So swift was the growth of this tree, and so strange was its form, that all who beheld it exclaimed in surprise, and Moïse seemed at once fascinated and repelled. 3 years after the death of Kalos, Moïse dispatched a messenger to the tyrant, and it was whispered in the agora at Tiga that the mighty statue was finished. By this time the tree by the tomb had attained amazing proportions, exceeding all other trees of its kind, and sending out a singularly heavy branch above the apartment in which Moïse labored. As many visitors came to view the prestigious tree as to admire the art of the sculpture, so that Moïse was seldom alone. But he did not mind his multitude of guests. Indeed, he seemed to dread being alone now that his absorbing work was done. The bleak mountain wind sighing through the olive grove and the tomb tree had an uncanny way of forming vaguely articulate sounds. The sky was dark on the evening that the tyrant's emissaries came to Tiga. It was definitely known that they had come to bear away the great image of Titch and bring the eternal honor to Messides. So their reception by the proxenoi was of great warmth. As the night wore on, a violent storm of wind broke over the crest of Manialus, and the men from far Scaracus were glad that they rested snugly in the town. They talked of their illustrious tyrant, and of the splendor of his capital, and exulted in the glory of the statue which Messides had wrought for them. And then the men of Tiga spoke of the goodness of Messides, and of his heavy grief for his friend, and how not even the coming of laurels of art could console him in the absence of Kalos, who might have worn the laurels instead. Of the tree which grew by the tomb near the head of Kalos they also spoke. The winds shrieked more horribly, and both the Scaracusians and the Arcadians prayed to Aelios. In the sunshine of the morning, the proxenoi led the tyrant's messengers up the slope to the abode of the sculptor, but the night wind had done strange things. People's cries ascended from a scene of desolation, and no more amidst the olive grove rose the gleaming colonnades of that vast hall wherein Messides had dreamed and toiled. Lone and shaken, mourned the humble courts and the lower walls, for upon the sumptuous greater peristyle had fallen squarely the heavy overhanging bough of the strange new tree, reducing the stately poem in marble with odd completeness to a mound of unsightly ruins. Strangers and Tegans stood aghast, looking from the wreckage to the great sinister tree whose aspect so weirdly human and whose roots reached so queerly into the sculptured sepulchre of Kalos. And their fear and dismay increased when they searched the fallen apartment for the gentle Messides, and of the marvelously fashioned image of Titch no trace could be discovered. Such stupendous ruin, only chaos dwelt, and the representatives of two cities left disappointed. The Scaracusians, that they had no statue to bear home, the Tegians, that they had no artist to crown. However, the Scaracusians obtained, after a while, a very splendid statue in Athens, and the Tegians consoled themselves by erecting the Agora, a marble temple commemorating the gifts, virtues, and brotherly piety of Messides. But the olive grove still stands, as does the tree growing out of the tomb of Kalos, and the old beekeeper told me that sometimes the boughs whisper to one another in the night wind, saying over, Oida, Oida, I know, I know. The end. That concludes our tale for this week, my friend. Please return next week and we will continue with another short story by H.P. Lovecraft. If you wish to rest some more, please find a space that suits you. Whether you curl up by the fire, partake in some food and beverages in our kitchen, take a nap in one of our many rooms, or take a stroll around the garden, please know you are always welcome at Sniper's Rest, my friend. If you are continuing your journey, the multiverse is overflowing with options for your next adventure. To the north, humanity is dying. You're a runner. You deliver news and goods between the few remaining vestiges of humanity. Your sister has been lost for many years. You hope by traveling like this you can finally find her. After hearing information from an old mentor, you discover she may be in one of the last standing cities in existence. It's a long journey. Better get running. To the west, the land is plagued with darkness and despair. You seek refuge in a city with high walls that promises safety. You stumble upon a unique opportunity to rise to power here, in this place. The question is, are you a hero or a villain? The choice is yours. To the east, welcome to the Pioneer Program. You're our newest recruit, and with the 4th best space exploration company, you're in good hands. So, the good news is, you're alive. The bad news is, you have no equipment, and your ship is broken and out of fuel. But don't worry, this is what you were never trained for. You don't have a clue how to determine if this planet is safe for humans, and you're probably going to die soon. Good luck! And if you're making your own way out there, good luck, my friend, wherever you end up, wherever you come from, and wherever you're going. Thank you for spending some time here with us at Sniper's Rest. Remember to take care of yourself, be kind to others, hydrate, take a moment to look out into the world and marvel at how incredible it all is. How incredible you are, friend. Until next time, please take care on your way.